I'm going to start us off. Good morning and welcome to the AlabamaWorks webinar series, a monthly webinar series designed to provide information and speakers related to the workforce in Alabama. Past webinars are available on AlabamaWorks website at alabamaworks.com.
Program for you. We have two speakers. First off this morning, the first speaker is Mr. Stephen Kostoyo from the U.S. Department of Education, who's going to talk to us about a full service community schools program. Following Stephen, we have Ms. Anna Dawn Fremont, who's with Public Consulting Group, and she's going to talk to us about their partnership with the Alabama State Department of Education. Following that, and I'm going to make the introductions to our final three speakers. We're going to have our first ever panel discussion via Zoom meeting, so we'll see how that goes, but we're going to talk about the construction industry. Normally we have Nick Moore with us to do a labor report, monthly labor report. He is on a mission with the governor this morning, so he will be absent, which will give us more time for our construction panelists. So without further ado, I'll turn the floor over to Stephen.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And let me just pull up my screen here. Is that working? Can everybody see that? That's all right. Great. Well, good morning. My name is Stephen Kostoyo, and I'm a Federation of American Scientists Impact Fellow in the Office of Elementary and Secondary Education at the U.S. Department of Education. And I really appreciate you all inviting me to present on the work our school choice and improvement team is doing to support and advance full service community schools. I'm particularly excited to present to this group because my education career started in Alabama as a middle school and high school science teacher, and my time at West Lawn Middle School in Tuscaloosa and Central High School in Lowndes County really helped shape my belief in how schools and communities can work together to support a strong workforce. And I'll start by providing a brief history and defining what a community school is, and then go into describing some of the essential elements or pillars of community schools and how they can support a cradle to career workforce and pathways for students. And then finally wrap up with some resources to help you all support the implementation of community schools in Alabama. So just to start off here, community schools, a little bit about the history, that they're a century-old idea that stems from a 1902 address that John Dewey gave, asserting that schools and communities, that they're intertwined, that schools can be neighborhood hubs and centers for developing engaged communities. And community schools have been operating in the United States since that time, including in the late 1920s and 1930s, when over 5,000 Rosenwald schools operated across the South, creating high-quality community-driven opportunities for underserved students. Since then, community schools have continued to see a steady growth across the country. At the federal level, this growth has been bolstered by the Full Service Community School Grant Program, which gave out its first awards in 2009, and most recently was authorized in the 2015 Every Student Succeeds Act. And in ESSA, specifically, the program's authorized under Title IV of the Every Student Succeeds Act. And the definition on this slide, you can see from statute, but it really boils down to the fact that full service community schools are an approach that transforms a school into a place where the people watching this webinar, where educators, local community members, families, and students can work together to strengthen conditions for student learning and healthy development. And as partners, they can organize in and out of school resources, supports, opportunities, so that young people can thrive. And since so many people in this audience create those in and out of school opportunities and workforce pathways for students in Alabama, I'm sure much of the work you're already doing interfaces with this definition. And as educators and workforce leaders, I know you all are interested in whether or not full service community schools, whether or not the approach works. And as you can see from this slide, it's backed by research showing a wide range of benefits. And those include increased attendance or reduced chronic absenteeism, improved academic achievement, higher graduation rates, and improved relationships. and attitudes towards schools. I'll also add that there's some evidence that community schools can help close achievement gaps for low-income students, for English learners, for students in special education, as well as providing a cost benefit or return on investment of up to $15 for every dollar invested. And as you can see here at the department, we're excited that this strong growing research base is growing at the same time as the full service community school program itself. Specifically, the full service community school program, it recently expanded from 42 total grants in 2020. Now we have 84 grantees today. And we have an estimated 45 more to be given out this year. And this is largely because the funding for the program has increased, first bumped up to 75 million in fiscal year 2022, and then 150 million in this past fiscal year 2023. And these investments have helped community schools continue to flourish around the United States. Full service community school grants and programs are active in 28 states, including in Alabama through the Mobile Area Education Foundation. And through the 2022 grants, just this most recent cycle, the full service community school program has reached an estimated 250 districts, 1,700 schools, and almost 800,000 students. And to help you all better understand how community schools connect to your own work, I want to describe 4 essential elements or pillars of community schools. And each one of these pillars is great on its own, but the real magic happens when they're all reinforcing each other in a whole school or a whole district. And the first pillar you can see here is integrated student supports. These are in and out of school supports for students that address well-being and barriers to learning through partnerships with public and private entities, including local and state agencies, community-based organizations, and businesses. So examples include mental health, physical health, dental, housing, transportation, and nutrition services. They also include mentoring, career counseling, workforce readiness, training. And as the definition says here, partnerships are key to implementing this pillar. Specifically for the Mobile Area Education Foundation, for their community school, these partnerships include the Southwest Alabama Workforce Development Council and the local Chamber of Commerce. The next pillar is expand and enrich learning time and opportunities. And these pillar includes programs that provide additional academic instruction and time for learning and high quality community connected instruction. So this includes before, after school, weekend, and summer programs. It also includes internships, externships, tutoring, extracurricular activities, and real world project-based learning. I know that, earning industry recognized credentials, science fair, field trips that I took my students to the University of Alabama and Auburn were particularly meaningful to my students, and those would all fit under this pillar. The third pillar looks at active family and community engagement. This includes any activity that brings parents and families of students into the school as partners in their education, including meaningfully involving parents and families in the community school's decision-making processes. So this includes school meetings, events, or other community school programming, providing adults with educational or employment opportunities and pathways. Even events like Central High School, when I taught there, their fish fry would fit under this category. And I remember how important events like that were for me, especially as a new teacher, to establish positive relationships with my students and their parents. And then finally, the last pillar is collaborative leadership and practices. And this pillar has been described as the glue that holds the other pillars together. And this includes activities that build a culture of professional learning, of collective trust and shared responsibility for each community school. It often involves school-based leadership teams, a community school coordinator, community-wide leadership team. And it can also bring together governance teams or steering committees and other coalitions that bring the community together. And these leadership teams, they can include workforce, labor, and industry leaders to better align local educational and employment opportunities. For instance, collaborative leadership teams can facilitate professional guest speakers or career fairs so that students can gain exposure to real-world jobs and experience. And at the beginning of this year, I mentioned I wanted to share some resources, and a really exciting one is that the federal government released a community school toolkit. And this lists relevant grant programs by federal agency and explains how those grants can be used to provide student services at community schools. It also includes new commitments from the various agencies that you can see on this slide, including the Department of Labor, the Department of Education, the AmeriCorps program, and programs through the Department of Defense. And in addition to this toolkit, which I encourage you to check out, I also want to highlight some community school general resources that we include on our full service community school webpage. And while we do not officially endorse any particular resource, we do highlight research, strategies, and practices as it relates to the development, implementation, and sustainability of community schools. So I encourage you to check those out as well. And finally, I just want to conclude my presentation today by thanking you all again for having me. It's really a special opportunity for me to present to you all. And you have my contact information here, so please don't hesitate to reach out with any questions about the program, any follow-up questions about what I've presented today. So thank you very much.
Stephen, really appreciate that. That's a lot of good information. And I want to remind everyone, we don't take live questions on the webinar, but if you do have a question, please send it via the AlabamaWorks.com email. Our next speaker this morning is Anna Dunn Fremont, and she's with the Public Consulting Group, and she's going to talk to us about her partnership with the Alabama State Department of Education. Anna, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you. I look forward to being here today. I'm going to hopefully share my screen. Sorry, give me 1 second. Seem to not want to. Okay. Well, thank you all today. I'm here to talk about our partnership that we've had for the past several years with the Alabama State Department of Education. And so first of all, I'm Anna Donchermont. I lead our strategy team at PCG. We're a Boston-based firm, but we do work all over the country, including with several Alabama state agencies. But again, I'm here to talk about our work related to education in the state. We also work with several school districts across the state as well. PCG is a public sector management consulting firm. We only work with government agencies, including health, education, and human services. We do a large amount of work in the workforce space as well. Work with 19 of the 30 largest school districts and across the country. So in the fall of 2019, PCG began a partnership with Alabama State Education Agency, the ALSDE. Our work was directly overseen by the Chief Examiner's Office, working directly with the Alabama State Legislature. The question and charge that we were being asked to look at is, how does the Alabama State Department of Education more effectively and efficiently operate to drive improvement across all of Alabama's schools? The NAEP test, which I'll talk about in a moment, was looked at as the end goal for this work. How does the work of ALSDE help and improve those test scores? The NAEP is the one test that can allow for comparability, educational comparability across the country. So that served as the metric. And so our first phase of the work, this was from 2019 to spring of 2020, PCG spent a lot of time with the department collecting data. So conducting a deep organizational operational study, which resulted in a final report with about 48 recommendations. These recommendations were actually, many of them were more than 48 because we had, 48 A, B, C, D, but a large bulk of recommendations focused both on internal functions and systems, as well as that relationship to schools and districts. From there, PCG has spent the past 3 years working with ALSDE to develop a roadmap to drive those improvement efforts. And so what we did was we created what we called a strategy to action implementation tracker to drive action, because we know what gets written gets done, and served as that accountability partner along the way to ALSDE. Along that path, we also have continued to partner with executive leadership, providing strategic advising, coaching, and technical assistance. So as I mentioned, we had our first report that guided our work together, having 5 key recommendations that have continued on in this work. The first is taking the lead. ALSDE functioning as that core owner and leader of education reform and educational improvement in the state of Alabama. They're the experts, being the experts, acting as the experts, driving that agenda. Developing and implementing a strategy to action plan. Having a deep plan that is aligned to the state strategic plan, that is aligned to the state's ESSA plan, that drives all work moving forward. This is that plan that I mentioned that we have helped develop and partner with along the year. Focusing on priorities. If you do too much, the work won't get done. Focusing on those core priorities, such as the Power School Student Improvement Act implementation, or Student Information System implementation. Focused on the standards. Focused on improvement related to math standards rollout, focused on training, those pieces that we know are real change levers that can make a difference, focusing first on those instead of all the other pieces. Holding schools and districts accountable. There's a partnership here. We heard a lot in our work about local control, and while local control is an important component of the fabric of who Alabama is, there is a partnership and that accountability that does need to happen as well to drive that improvement. Finally, a significant amount of internal reorganization at ALSDE, which has since happened and moved forward with. And so this strategy to action implementation tracker resulted between its creation in May 2020 to when our contract ended with the department this past May. Completion of over 100 critical action items that were directly tied to report recommendations. The progress when we first developed this strategy to action implementation tracker, I think there was a real belief of how can we get all this done? And it was an incredibly impressive feat by ALSDE, the level and the amount of work that happened in such a short time frame, especially when you couple that with the challenge of the pandemic, of the COVID-19 pandemic in the middle of that. And instead of ceasing operations and ceasing improvement, as many states did, Alabama continued to push forward in driving those improvements. And as a result, as I mentioned at the beginning, NAEP. So NAEP is the National Assessment of Educational Progress. Every state takes this, it's a space where it provides the opportunity to have comparative analysis against other states. Alabama has typically not fared well on the NAEP. And what is been, I think probably not celebrated enough, but has been this past fall 2022, the first NAEP results were released since PCG completed the operational study and analysis. The implementation tracker was made. That focus moving forward was created. And well, virtually every state across the country saw a decline in reading and math scores. Alabama did not follow this same trend. And 4th grade math, we saw that particular achievement growth. So for 4th grade math, scores held steady compared to the national, an average decrease across the country. Fourth grade reading scores went up 2 points compared to a decrease nationally. And most impressively, Alabama leaped to 40th place in fourth grade math, had been 52nd before. That is a massive leap, as well as 38th in fourth grade reading from 48th. Our hope is that we continue to see this level of progress moving forward. And as a result, as to what's next, as I mentioned, PCG's contract ended with ALSDE in May 2023. And we believe the department is very well positioned and set up to continue the work moving forward ahead, using the tracker that we've helped develop as the tool and the mechanism to guide the work moving forward. So on our departure, we worked with the department to create a current or updated strategy to action implementation tracker that runs through May of 2024. And ALSD has now set themselves up to continue to lead and own this work moving forward. There were a number of accountability reporting metrics that had been set up throughout the course of our contract, including regular updates to the state legislature, as well as regular updates to the State Board of Education. Those updates will continue moving forward. And to drive this work, ALSDE has developed and created a research and analysis unit to support this work moving forward, to allow both for that internal data collection analysis, project management tools, project management protocols, and the overall management of the tracker itself. And with that, we are excited to continue to watch from afar and see the great work that the department is continuing to push forward on. So thank you for the time today, and look forward. I believe my email address is in the agenda. I'm happy to take questions, virtually as well.
Thank you so much, Anna. We really appreciate that input on your report. We have celebrated Alabama's schools' NAEP scores increase. It was great, and we've got a lot further to go. And I think a lot of those NAEP score, at least positions, improved due to the fact that the governor and the State Board of Education and Dr. Mackey put our kids back to school earlier during the pandemic as compared to other states, because our nominal scores, it's my understanding, our nominal scores did not increase that much and everybody else's fell. So this is a great opportunity for us to push forward and increase our actual scores. So thanks so much again for your input today. And if anybody wants to send Anna a question, please do so again through the AlabamaWorks.com site. Our next group here this morning, welcoming to our panel, our first panel ever. So bear with us. We may have a few bumps here, but we're going to concentrate on construction industry and the workforce. And to my right is retired Air Force Colonel Chris Stricklin, who is a successful leadership author, I understand, and speaker, and also runs Dunn University, which is a subsidiary of Dunn Construction, correct?
Correct.
So, and Dunn's involved in both building and highway construction. And Chris is going to join us this morning, along with Mr. Alan Harris, who is the CEO and president of Bailey Harris Construction in Auburn, Alabama, but they do work all over the state and I think other states as well. Correct, Alan?
Yes.
Okay. Great to have him. And then to his right is Mr. Billy Norrell, who's no stranger to construction. He was born into a construction family and has been in and around construction all of his life. I don't want to give my age away, but I've known Billy since he was a young boy. So that tells you how old I am, because Billy's getting a little age on him too. But Billy is now the CEO of the AGC in Birmingham, which is General Contractors Association. So we're going to I'm going to have a few questions for them, and I'm going to stop talking and let them stop. So first, I'm going to start with Chris. So if you can tell me a little bit about your organization and tell me, try to sell me, if I'm a young adult, pretend that's a big thing to do. Pretend that I'm a young adult. Why would I want to work in your business in construction?
I think that's easy to do. So Dunn Companies is a 145-year-old family-owned business in multiple industries, as you said. And as we're trying to sell this to young adults and their parents, which is another thing we talk about, it is an industry where you have unlimited growth, unlimited potential. If you're willing to put in the effort, if you're hungry and you want to grow toward your true potential, this is an industry where you can amass skills and certifications that will allow you career progression pathways. So it's not just a job you show up to for a paycheck. It's something bigger than you, because our industry of construction lays the roads that let others get to their job. And it just has that intrinsic satisfaction of being something bigger than yourself and being on an incredible team.
Thanks, Chris. Alan, how about you? How would you sell me on joining the construction industry?
Well, I would tell you it's an honorable profession. It's good, clean, hard work. If you like the outdoors, that's a big draw for people. That would be a place to go. I would first try to form a relationship with you, even only just for a few minutes, and then find out if you've been exposed to the construction industry, and if so, how. Maybe summer jobs, whatever. Providing they're open and to positive building, and then continue a dialogue. My main point would be to try to see if they have a passion about this, and because many people do, then it gets to be passion. And if they do, I would court them on the fact that if you, whatever you find, and especially if it's construction, if you're passionate about your work, you'll never work a day in your life.
Absolutely. Great answer. Billy, how about you?
Well, I'd echo what Chris and Alan both said. The industry provides a great career opportunity for you. It provides you with a path to a financial foundation for you and your family. And we're blessed with a 100-plus-year-old organization at AGC, where we've seen lots of generations of construction companies come through our doors. And we interact with an awful lot of small family-owned businesses. And the exciting thing about the opportunities that the industry provides for their employees is that they see multi-generational employees work within their own organizations, and we're not unique to that in the way we operate. So it's a great opportunity for you to really have a career for a lifetime.
All right. Well, Alan, if you were to boil this down to three traits or skills that you're looking for in a prospective employee, tell me what those would be.
Well, again, back to this, one-on-one interview or whatever, as you meet people. First thing I'm looking for drive. I look for self-motivation, people that are driven. Usually driven people you never have to work. They work themselves. The second thing I would look for along the way is a good attitude. That reflects in anything. Attitude makes, everything work. Personal appearance is a lot. Even in our construction, we teach our men to try to keep the shirt tails tucked in and try to look professional, especially depending on where you're working, like in office situations. So personal appearance is a big deal. I've had to tell my men more than once to trim the beard up before an interview. And then I like eye contact. That tells me a lot about a person. And I tend to see much more of this in the Generation Z. The Zers. Yeah, really.
That's good. Good to hear. Chris, you want to weigh in on this?
Those are pretty powerful things to think about. For me, I put it in a little bit different terms of hunger to grow more and be more tomorrow than you are today. Investing in yourself along with the company, because the construction industry will get you the skills you need along the way, as long as you're willing to invest your time and effort in there. And I boil it back to something more simple of show up each and every day, ready to work, ready to support the team around you so that they can support you well. So it's back to attitude and hunger and determination and just showing up. And that's part of being a career. Is I look as much forward to Monday and getting back to work as I do Friday and getting off for the weekend. That's kind of my definition between a job and a career, is something I want to do each and every day.
All right, great answers. Are y'all, and Billy, you're a industry-wide. So, and I failed to mention, Billy also was executive director for the Alabama Road Builder Association for a long time. I don't remember exactly, 20 years, was it?
16.
16, that's close. Okay. So what do you hear from people in the industry that are the difficulties they're having in finding people to bring into the organizations?
Well, I think it's just a matter of getting the opportunities in front of those individuals out there. We work with the companies and we work with the organizations to make sure that they can advertise their opportunities to everybody out there. And we use a number of different methods for that. And we hope that we can find a way to let our organization, the Associated General Contractors, work with anybody out there that's interested in getting connected with the industry. We use our national connections throughout the different chapters around the country to help people relocate and find opportunities in this industry in other states, in different parts of Alabama. We work to make sure that the news gets out to anyone that's hunting a job in this industry, that we can make a connection for them. There's plenty of opportunities out there if you'll just do a little legwork and ask the right questions.
Okay, Chris, you want to answer that too?
It's hard to get how great our industries are out, and I don't understand why. And when we go to job fairs, a lot of the times we take our drones and our VR headsets that we train on, because that's what sparks people's imagination as to what's really possible. It's not just a shovel and a piece of equipment. And once we get their attention and show them the opportunities that are in construction across the board, there is something from everybody. We need project managers, we need accountants, we need people out in the field, we need equipment operators. There's something to be there for everybody if you just look. So have your eyes open for what you drive by each and every day, whether it's a company laying asphalt, a building going up, or a general contractor. There is something there for each and every one of you.
Alan, what about you?
Well, we all suffer from an insufficient labor pool, especially post-pandemic. That's our biggest challenge right now, particularly in the management and supervision trades, project managers, assistant managers, supervision, estimators, and all that. We need more. It's very hard to grow if you don't have the staff, and you have to be careful with that. We have also hired a full-time recruiter about 5 months ago, having been bitten by practically every professional recruiter organization that promises we'll have you a superintendent of this, and you got on a 90-day watch, but if something happens, you don't get refunded, you simply get that. We'll send you another one. And it really doesn't materialize. So we hired our own recruiter, and I'll tell you, I'm very encouraged. We've hired several, and they still have a watch, because the truth is, as Chris said, it's a wonderful, wonderful living. It's just a super living, no end to chance for advancement. But it's just you have to be there, and you got to work your way up and get in. So it's we're just a little short on labor, but we're looking to trying everything we know. We have programs offering training programs. The AGC and the ABC have tremendous safety programs, and much more. Those are good. We're also implementing more internal training on our management side, as well as beginning supervision training. The old school superintendents are about gone, but some of their ways and the tricks of the trade and all, it's just a great training, because to be a superintendent, you're responsible for $100 million project, every bit of it, right there, because you're on site, and your project manager is accountable for it. So there's a lot going on, there's a lot to it. But as Chris said, and Billy, wonderful, wonderful business.
Absolutely. Well, we read and hear on television all the time about the labor shortage, and then there's a skills gap, because we know a lot of the people that have the skills in the construction industry, a lot of them are retiring, from truck drivers on down to carpenters and plumbers and electricians and roadway operators. So what? How do we fill that gap? How are we doing that? Alan, start with you.
Yeah.
And actually, this may be a good
Thank you,
time.
yeah.
This may be a good time to add in, you had some information about the labor force in the country, some statistics, so.
Yes, okay, baby boomers. The average age of the construction industry is about 58, 59, right in there. It's going up. So many baby boomers in the industry. There are about 41 million baby boomers working now. Last year, 21 actually, post-pandemic, 3 dropped out, 3 million. And as they age, because it's from 46 to 64, and so your oldest ones are 77, which is still extremely young. But as they age,
Getting younger every day.
they do, as they age, there'll be more dropout at the rate we're going than there are people to replace them. Presently, there are about 9.8 million jobs, openings for jobs in the United States. Of those 9.8, 6 million, a little over 6 million would be filled by people with a high school education. That's all. No college education, 6 out of 9.8. And so that's not the answer to where they're coming from. That's another question and another answer. But that's kind of where we are in the labor market.
Well, and it's a perception issue as well. It's seen as a sexy destination for a career. It's viewed as dangerous. You're in harm's way. You're out in the field, and it's hard work. And so we try to overcome the PR stigma that's associated with construction by telling the workforce that's available out there how many great career opportunities there are within our industry. And like Chris said, careers for a lifetime and advancement opportunities are endless. If you put in the work and you learn the company and learn the different positions within the company, you have great opportunities to advance and make a career out of it. It's tough to overcome the historical perception of the hard work that is the construction industry. But those that do take an opportunity and jump in realize pretty quickly what they have available to them. They have tremendous salary opportunities. They have career advancement opportunities, ownership opportunities, and they have a chance to stay for a lifetime with a company that's going to look out for them. As those of us in the family construction business world understand, these individuals are treated as part of your family. If they don't perform, the company doesn't perform. So the health and future of the company is based on how good the company operates with those employees. So you want them to succeed. You don't want to have a lot of turnover. You don't want to cycle new folks in and out every week. You want to find the people, like Alan said, that are passionate about it and want to give their best to make the whole organization flow successfully. We're working to try to overcome that.
You guys get me fired up. I'm ready to go do it right now. As we talk about the gap, more often than not, we're talking about the skilled workforce, and we talk about the technical skills of how to run a piece of equipment, how to do something. But there's another aspect of that when we talk about the retirees, which currently for every 7 people that retire, only 1's entering the industry. That's not sustainable. And we have to grow them at a faster rate than we have in the past. So one of the things that I personally love about the industry is that we have focused more in recent years on personal growth, on leadership growth, on the soft skills, so that we can grow leaders, not just operators. And so when we're talking about careers versus jobs for a lifetime, for multiple generations, that's what we're also talking about, is filling the gap with leadership training, with soft skills, with emotional intelligence, so that it's not just running a piece of equipment. It's leading a 13-person asphalt crew. It's leading the $100 million entire job that you're general contractor for. And I love that. That shift that I've seen in recent years tells me how much companies and the industry is investing in individuals, and not just what their hands can do, but what their minds and hearts can do.
Great answer, guys. Tell me a little bit about salary opportunities. Everybody wants to know, what am I going to make? So Billy, you probably got an industry overlooking view. let's start with you.
We're fortunate that we participate in some groups through our national organization that collect that information because the companies want them. We share them with our company members that want to know, hey, gosh, what should I be paying an electrician this year, and is the number changing? It's all over the board. It's high. $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 for almost entry level positions. There are significant opportunities for someone to come in and make a great living right out of the gate. And then the more you learn and the more you advance, those opportunities will only increase. I don't think it's unrealistic to think that you could have six-figure opportunities at family construction companies and larger construction companies out there with just a little bit of effort. I think the opportunity's there if you'll just go get it.
And you're not necessarily talking about people that have 4-year college degrees.
Certainly
right?
not at all. These are people that are just willing to come in and learn the industry. They've spent their time, like Alan said, getting some certifications and learning some background information. So they come in, they're not cold off the street. If they are, the companies are always willing to train them and get them up to speed. But if you come in with a little bit of background and you're ahead of the curve, those opportunities are going to present themselves quicker.
If I could add to that, for one fact, when we're bringing in laborers, so entry-level jobs that don't have a certification, a degree, or anything else, that's the entry level. And over recent years, a certification in running a piece of heavy equipment, a skid steer, a wheeled loader, just one piece, which hopefully we'll have time to get to, a certification program through the Alabama Community College system. On average, that class gets you $5 an hour more than the entry level. And that is a livable wage when you look at a certification in running one piece of equipment of a short class that to date has been paid for all with grants. The Alabama Community College system has trained 4,000 people through grants in the past 2 years. And those people are starting salary $5 more per hour than their counterparts who didn't take a certification program.
Not only that, Tim, but the starting wages this year, if you graduate from Auburn University in building construction, the starting wages the first year ever have busted 170,000. There are 150 graduates. Every single one had job offers, 90% multiple job offers. The wages have gone up, especially with a shortage in labor and a great demand. There's still a great demand for goods and services. So the money is there. It's very good money. Back to one other thing that said, this sense of satisfaction of the construction business. It's like nothing I've ever seen. When I was 14, I had my first construction job. We could do it back then, not too many years ago, but we could do it back then. And I was addicted at the end of the first day. Of course, I'd been around it, smelling it, touching it. I like the smell of diesel fuel and dirt. Chris knows. But those people, and most people do this, that have a sense of accomplishment, they love watch and see what they're doing during the day and at the end of the day.
I agree with you. I started at 14 as well. And one of the things that I've learned, and at least from the highway construction, I'm sure it's the same in building, is at the end of the day, you can see what you've actually done for the day. You're not just filling out form. You're actually on a highway. You can see how many miles of road you paved and ride back over it and see what a good job you did. So it's really apparent very quickly what you've done each day. And another thing that I heard from our employees many, many times is, and I think, Chris, you shared this with me recently, is these employees take great pride in what they've done. So they may be riding on the interstate that they paved and said, I paved this, you can see, and it transmits to their children and hopefully rings a bell with them about a type of job that they can get a lot of great satisfaction in. Going back, and we do have more time. Y'all said we might not have, you might have too much time, but we're going to fill it in. When I started, I was back in the early days. Most construction equipment didn't have the modern technology. Bulldozers were still not on hydraulics. We didn't have air conditioning. In fact, it was almost Yeah, you had, clutch controls and all, but then today, talk about some of the modern improvements on construction equipment, because a lot of people still think they see old pictures of somebody out there just sweating. We didn't, when our company didn't have trucks with air conditioning. It was sort of a badge of courage that it was tough, but that's not the way it is today, Chris.
Well, if we could start with training. So again, in recent years, training has changed from here's the keys, go run a piece of equipment on an active job site, to simulators. So Jefferson State has a simulator that sits on a trailer with a classroom. It's air conditioned. It has a generator. They bring it out to companies to train, and it's a safe place to fail so that you can understand how to run the equipment and not just how to move dirt, but it gamifies the system so that Alan and I can compete and see who's better for bragging rights afterwards. And it's not just about what we build. And we have the same thing in CDL and commercial drivers training as we go forward with these type virtual reality moving simulators that can teach you skills to be better than our generation was. Because that's what we want. Not for you to be as good as we are, but for you to be better than we are, to take companies to higher levels than we could. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Alan, to talk about the advances on the actual equipment, if you want to talk about that.
Well, the job we just started and finished, we've just gotten into the electronics and the GPS systems. And so the equipment we just bought, 2 pieces of equipment we just bought, were wired and set up for GPS, work off satellite. Well, that works off a base. The base in a rover, there's a base, you establish a base at some elevation on a site. And it can be a 5-acre site, or it can be a 250-acre site. And that base picks up the signal from every piece of equipment. And it will automatically, now you have to operate, but it will basically put that a ground elevation to the grade that you want, and put curves in it, put slope in it, and it'll just finish it just like the drawings. And it does it much more efficiently than the old school. And it's a high dollar stuff. You have to pay for it. But now with every grading contractor, and I think you'll back me up, Chris, you can't compete without it.
You can't. And if I could take that one step further, one of the other additions is we have drones that survey pre, survey post, that tell us every piece of rock, the piece of dirt that is moved. But as you think about that, we also have in our company 25 drone pilots that know how to operate these drones out there. The drones cost about $10,000 a piece. Like you said, they're not cheap pieces of equipment, but the precision is so much greater, and technology is being used as a tool to make all of our situations safer. We talked about safety earlier, so that we're safer doing things. You're not climbing on a pile of rocks to see how many are there. We're flying it with a drone and using technology to tell us. But those technological advances give us opportunities for everybody to do whatever they want to do, whether it's run the piece of equipment or be an FAA certified drone operator, which is what's required to get out there and survey these job sites.
We took a big pile of topsoil the other day. There was a dispute on how much topsoil was in the pile. That wouldn't have very often disputes, would it? So we flew it with a drone, and it quantified it.
Yeah, I was out on a project the other day at one of the community colleges. They're building an advanced manufacturing building, and first thing out there was a young man. He was standing there, and we looked up. He had a drone about 150 feet in the air, taking a progress picture, so he had sent back to their main office, which is in Birmingham. This was in Gadsden. He was taking drone photos, and he's just a young man and dressed in his PPE and out there on the practice site. So that's something that's just an incredible opportunity, I think. And I know, like you said, y'all use a lot at Dunn. And
our lead drone pilot is 23 years old. That leads all of our other drone pilots, and she has flown with us since she was 19.
That's incredible. That's great. Well, let me switch gears a little bit and talk about some specific training opportunities we've got in Alabama. Billy, you've been with Go Build Alabama, and it's the craft. What's the official name of the board now?
Well, Go Build Alabama is the PR arm of the Alabama Construction Recruitment Institute. And so you remember Go Build, when it first began, we had Mike Rowe as a spokesperson, and it was a big PR push to bring everybody's attention to the construction industry. That operation, which is, I think we're 10 years or maybe a little more since that legislation was passed, with all of us in the construction industry came together in Alabama Power and created that whole organization. It's been very successful in using technology to be the avenue to get people's attention for the construction industry. You know, people nowadays, this is how they apply for a job. You go to the Go Build website, you search for job opportunities. It launches you into the Alabama Workforce Council job bank, and you find opportunities out there. ACRI has been a great resource for us in this industry. I think young people use it much more than, like we were talking earlier, than looking for that piece of plywood on the side of 431 that says hiring, come to the front door. They'd much rather use this as a way to search for jobs. It's just the place we're living in nowadays. And we use the relationship with Go Build to help establish those opportunities to get people in our industry. We also have a great relationship with several schools out there throughout the state, where we do provide 10th grade through 12th grade skilled trades opportunities to go in and learn a profession, learn about being a part of this industry. And it's all a part of the high school curriculum here in the state of Alabama. And we're working with one in Birmingham and Hoover right now. We've got several trades from high schools that have been reborn back. We've got one in Pike County, and we're working on several others out there. And we're also excited about partnering with the Baldwin Preparatory Academy down in Baldwin County when it comes online in another year. So the opportunities are definitely there for people to learn at an early age and treat it just as part of your high school curriculum, because that's truly what it is. Go Build is just the big PR wing of that whole division. And one last group I'll mention is another piece of legislation that we helped create was the Craft Training Board, which the industry supports. That it comes 100% supported from the industry. And it
When you
creates
pay support, they pay for it.
They pay for
through
it.
tax.
That's right. Well, they pay for it as a formula created off your building permits. And so it creates a pot of money that is available for contractors, for schools, for individuals to go and apply for grants and put on specific training for a particular project you may be doing, or a particular style of employee that you're looking to hire. All that money's available to you. That Craft Training Board, which is run totally by contractors also, has been a great resource for providing opportunities for people to achieve the kind of training that they need specific to the work that they're doing.
Billy, if I could pull on one thing that you said, 10th through 12th graders. This is where we're inspiring people to find a career and what they want to do. And almost 5 years ago, we heard that we couldn't put people less than 18 on a piece of heavy equipment. So how do we inspire them if they don't get to do what you said, Alan, and get out there and turn dirt and see that they're really motivated to do that? And recently, in connection across the state of Alabama, to my knowledge, we're the first state to do this. We taught a heavy equipment class on skid steer to 10th through 12th graders, legally and safely. And as we did that, their parents had to sign a release. And I asked the question of, well, how hard was it to get the parents to sign the release? And the answer came back, not only was it easy, both parents were there and the grandparents were there, encouraging those young people that are going to be the next generation to operate that equipment. One of them told me, I don't want to operate the piece of equipment you just told me. I want to operate every piece of equipment I saw, which is back to what you pulled on, Alan, of this is fun. This gives us something to be prideful. And every student that went through that class had at least one job offer by the time they accepted their certificate. And they're not even out of high school yet. That's what we can do here in the state of Alabama.
Those training classes are a great part of the whole system that we put together. I know we've done some here in the Montgomery area with Pike Road schools. We're working to get those students exposed to this as best we can. And some of these other programs, like you mentioned earlier, the simulators. I know we've got excavator simulators in Hoover and crane simulators as well. So it's putting them on the video game type opportunity it's a big draw.
Alan, I'd be remiss not asking you, you were instrumental in getting the craft training center in Birmingham started. We've got about 3 minutes. Anna's back there telling us we got a short time. Can you sum it up? What
Sure.
that is?
In 2017, the Associated Builders and Contractors, ABC, heard the cry of its members for needing labor. So we met with the Department of Commerce, State Department of Education, and the DOL, Department of Labor, and created a P3. We fixed the training age at 11th and 12th graders. It's worked well so far. We created the Academy of Craft Training. The first one was in Birmingham. Our organization passed a hat and collected $500,000 to pay for teachers that year. The Department of Commerce gave us a space, and the Department of Education brought the kids from the schools. We opened in 27 that fall with a whirlwind feat. Now we have 3 academies, Mobile, Birmingham, and this morning opened one in Decatur. And that was a quick one. Some quick metrics. So as of today, we have 73 participating high schools in Alabama. We have 961 students seeking entry. And these applications, we go through them and we go through them and pick the ones we want. 588 were accepted. We have an executive operations staff of 3 persons, campus staff of 16 instructors. And the most impactful thing, way I can put it is that the most impactful metric is that the academy graduated about 140 students in May. We graduated about 230 this May, May 24, starting wages $14 to $21 an hour. And they go to work. They have multiple offers and off the street, not on the street. They don't go to the street. These guys, and we run a tight ship with instructors that have had their boots on for 25 years because they know how to teach them. Construction place, it can be a risky place. We make it safe, but it's not a place for cut up and play, and it's serious business. So this is a great thing. We have become a board of education.
Well, I know I've been to a couple of graduations of the school in Birmingham, and it's impressive. And like Chris said, there's parents and grandparents there, and those kids, for the most part, graduate on the day they graduate. The next day, they're working for a company, making good money. So, and these are kids straight out of high school. So, I think that's going to wrap up our time. Anna, are we okay? So thank y'all, gentlemen, for being here. I think we could have spent another hour. I think y'all were getting really into this. There's a lot more stories we could tell. The main message is there's a lot of opportunity in the construction industry, a lot of job opportunities, opportunities to go into construction, even at entry level, and have a career path that'll lead you to a very successful career and something that's sustainable for your family and very enjoyable. So yeah, if some construction work's hard work, but anything you do in life that's not hard work is not nearly as enjoyable. At least that's what I found. So thank you for joining us today. We'll be listed on the AlabamaWorks.com. You can go back and pull this up to look at all the speakers today. Thanks for all the speakers joining us, and join us next month in September. What's the date, Anna? Doesn't matter. You can see it on the AlabamaWorks.com. I wasn't prepared there. So thank you again. Have a safe week.